Hello, yeah, welcome again. Yeah, this is project management tutorial by LG Tutorials, and I'm your instructor, Lebechi Joseph. This is our fourth video in the series, and today we'll be starting on the knowledge areas and project management. The very first one I'll start with is project integration management. Now, note that each of those knowledge areas have subdivisions. Now, we'll look at what integration, like for instance, now we look at what knowledge area it's. Now if you take integration management, we'll now break it down into the divisions and critically analyze it into what we call the ITTOs. That's we look at the input, the tools and technique, and the output for each subdivision. Now this is what is going to be happening till the end of the series. This is what is in your PMBOK guide. So now we'll commence. So we're actually dealing with project integration management, which on the PMBOK guide is the first knowledge area that was explained. Now, so let's go. What then is project integration management? Now, project integration management includes processes. Now, these are processes that we are trying to identify, unify, combine, and bring various processes and project management activities. Now, from the word integration, you should understand that you're trying to combine various processes. Now, we have time scheduled processes, we have cost processes. So in integration management, you're just trying to bring all of them, coordinate them. From the name, you should be able to know what integration means. So now, in simple terms, we are just trying to combine and unify. In the PMP exam, they most likely you'll see a question that what's project integration management about. When you see combine and unify, that's the correct answer. So now let's go on. This particular knowledge area is broken down into 6 subdivisions. Now we have the develop project charter, we have the develop project management plan, we have the direct and manage project work, we have the monitor and control project work, we have the perform integrated change control, and we have the close project. Now these are the subdivisions of project integration management. Now understand this, each of these subdivisions we are going to deal with them in. When we study them, we'll talk about the ITTOs, the input, the tools and techniques, and the output for each subdivision for each of this process. Now, one thing you should also know that these subdivisions would fall under one of the project management processes. Like now, from the word develop project charter, now develop project charter is actually done during the initiation stage of a project. So now it falls under initiation project management process. Remember, we have 5 project management processes now. So develop project charter is under initiation. When you talk about project management plan, it occurs when you're planning the project. Then direct and manage work occurs when you're executing the work. We'll go on in details and explain them. So first of all, we'll start with the first one, which is a develop project charter. Now, what is a project charter? A project charter is a document that formally initiates a project. Now it tries to say this we want to start up a project, and this is the objective of the project. Now this document is most likely would be a high level documentation. It won't discuss the requirement or the objective into lower details. Now it authorizes the existence of the project and provides the project manager with the necessary authority to apply organizational resources to the project. Now the idea behind this project charter is so that the project managers can know the project's boundaries. So let's go. Remember, I said each of these subdivisions we are going to be looking at the ITTOs. Now, what then are the inputs for this? The first one is the project statement of work. Project statement of work. Now, project statement of work is a description of the product or the result that's to be delivered of a project. If you take on a project to build a house, A project statement of work should describe what the final house should look like. Is it a three-bedroom flat? Is it an upstairs? Is it a duplex? Should it be a painted yellow? That's what should be in the project statement of work. Then also, under the input, you will also have a business case of work. Now, in the business case of work, you're trying to determine whether the project is worth it. Whether from the business standpoint, that if we're undertaking this project, can we make returns on this project? Will this project be successful? And what is the market demand of this project? How well does the company need this particular project to implement? That's what the business case of work. We're just trying to check whether the project is worth it. Then also we need the agreements. Now, agreements are trying in agreements are used to define the initial intentions of the project. Now you're trying to say, assuming the project is going to be sponsored by two or more companies, you can form an agreement in the form of MOUs, SLAs, letter of agreement, saying this maybe you bring 45% of the cost, I'll bring remaining 55% of the cost, but I would have a upper hand in making decisions or governing the project. Now, the agreements are just guide. They are structures that we are putting in place that that the projects can go by. Now, in form of when you actually when you want to develop an agreement document within external entities, it's actually called a contract. So, and that's something you should be aware of when you want to develop your project charter is the EEF. Now, what are the EEFs? Enterprise environmental factors. The EEFs are those factors on a project you do not have power over. Government standards, marketplace conditions, like the price of cement. You're building a house, you don't know whether the price of cement will increase the next year. Then also we talk about the OPAs. OPAs, remember I said OPAs are the data bank. Now, the information from previous projects, the failures, what made the project to succeed, what are the necessary steps to incorporate project management principles in the organization. These can be found in the OPAs. Then we have now discussed about the input to developing project charter. Now let's move to the next stage, which is the tools and techniques for developing a project charter. The first tools and technique is expert judgment. Now you can call consultants, experts, industry groups, subject matter experts, to let them sit down and say, we are trying to build this project. What would the objective of this project be like? You're relying on experts to bring your inputs, let us work together. So most likely the project manager might not really have much to offer in this particular documentation because he might not be an expert in the field. Now assuming you're developing an IT software, you get a project manager. A project manager might not know how to program. So you call in the consultants, the experts, the developers, the IT guys. They bring in their input and say, okay, yeah, this is what the project should be like. This is what is needed for the project, so we can know the project's boundaries. Yeah. Then also we need the facilitation technique. This is also among the tools and technique. Now, the facilitation technique now involves brainstorming, conflict resolution, problem solving, meeting management. Because when you organize meetings, maybe between the experts, the consultants, they would need to brainstorm. They also bring up ideas that are conflicting with each other. You should be able to resolve it or manage such conflicting ideas, and should also be able to handle meetings. Then, what then is the output of this subdivision? Develop project charter. Now, remember we are trying to develop project charter. Now, that means what the output of this particular process should be a project charter. Remember, I defined what a project charter is. A project charter is a document that formally initiates a project. Now, in this document, we can have the project purpose. We should have high-level requirements, assumptions, and constraints. What are we assuming when we are carrying on this project? We can make an assumption that the price of cement stays at $38 throughout the project. That's an assumption. So you talk about the risk, you talk about the milestone, you talk about the summary budget, you talk about the stakeholder list. These documents can be in your project these items can be in your project charter. Now that's the first division of project integration management. The next one I want to look at is develop project management plan. Remember, when we tried to develop project charter, our output was the project charter. Now we are trying to develop the project management plan. Our output should be a project management plan. Now, what then is a project management plan? This defines how the project would be executed, monitored, and controlled. Now, there are some subsidiary documents that are added to this now, but mainly in the project management plan, it consists of it discusses in details how the project should be executed, monitored, and controlled. So, okay, now what then are the inputs? You bring in the project charter we discussed earlier on, because you should know your boundaries for the project. Then also you should bring in outputs from other processes. Now this is the second process in this series I'm discussing, so you might not know other processes except the develop project charter. So as we go on, we'll look at some other processes like the cost baseline and schedule baseline, because you need them to know how you should plan and execute your project. Then also we talk about the EFs, things on a project you do not have power over, like the price of cement. I don't know why I like the price of cement. I love buildings. Next, let's go to the OPAs. OPAs is still under the input. Now, in the OPAs, we are trying to check out a data bank. What made the project succeed? What are the standard rules? What are the change control procedures? Are they project files from other from previous projects? What are the historic lessons learned that we can imbibe into this new project? Then what are the tools and techniques? Expert judgment comes into play. We call experts, we call consultants, we call SMEs, we call geeks, we call IT guys, we call developers, depending on the project. Say, yeah, come, give me what do you think about this? I'm trying to know how this project will be developed, executed. And they sit down together and develop a document. Simple. Next, again, the tools and technique, facilitation technique. Now you're trying to brainstorm, conflict resolution, idea solving, meeting management are also involved. Then what's the output? We have the project management plan. Now the project management plan should, remember, it describes how the project should be monitored, executed, controlled, closed. Now it should contain the scope baseline. That's like, what is the scope of the project? It should contain the schedule baseline. Is a project for 6 months, 6 months plus or minus 2 weeks? Is the project a $2 million project? What's the quality of the project? Should it be very strong? Should it be very durable? These are what can be a project management plan. Now, what are baselines? Now, from your normal English, baselines are used to perform analysis, like you say in schools. That maybe if the pass baseline is 50%. Now that's like a benchmark. This is what anybody above that 50% passes, and anybody below 50% fails. Now it's the same way in project management. Now baselines refers to an accepted and approved plan and the related document. So now if you see a project is 6 months, that the schedule baseline is trying to expatiate on 6 months. Now they also talk in the PM plan, the project management plan, you can include some other plans like the subsidiary plans. These are plans from other knowledge areas like scope, requirements, schedule management, cost, quality, process improvement plan. Process improvement is not actually a knowledge area, but it's one of the things we include in subsidiary plans. We also don't have the HR management plan, the communication management plan, the risk management plan, the procurement management plan, and the stakeholder management plan. Now, these are the subsidiary plans. We'll discuss them in details because we'll be going through each of the knowledge areas one by one. This is the first knowledge area. We still have 10 knowledge areas to go through. And if you can count this should be this should be 511. So we'll go through each of them as we go on. Now, then also in the project management plan, you can talk about the life cycle of the project. Are we using adaptive? Are we using incremental? Are we using adaptive? So there are styles, you can discuss them. You can write about them in your project management plan. Now, in PM, according to the PM guide, we believe in a lot of documentations. So it helps us. We don't just we prefer prevention over inspection. So these documentations help us to be aware of mistakes and we know how to avoid them. Now the next one is the direct and manage work. Now this guy falls under the execute management PM process, direct and manage work. Now in this place you're trying to lead and perform the work defined in your plan earlier. Now we say we are trying to build a house. So now we have started digging the ground. We have started buying blocks, we have started laying rods and the rest. So now we're actually directing and managing the work. As simple as that. So now what remember we're always dealing with the ITTUs. That's what the PM book is all about. What then are inputs to direct and manage work? We require the PM plan. Remember, we defined the PM plan, the project management plan earlier on that contains some subsidiaries plan like the scope baseline, the cost baseline, the schedule baseline. Now we bring it on board and see, yeah, this is we are trying to build a house. What's the cost of the house? So we use it and like say, yeah, this work was meant to stay for 6 days. Whenever they are digging it, it should stay for 6 days also. They are digging the ground, should stay for 6 days. Now that's what we actually do in direct and manage work. Now then also we bring in approved change requests. Now most likely on a project, changes will be made regularly. Now you assuming the someone leaves the team, maybe one of your project team members will leave the team. So now you actually you're leaving a slot on your project for about before you can hire the next person. It will take about a week. So now it means you're going to change the timeline of your project now. Such change, and you're going to shift some activities. As a project manager, you don't just shift the activities and just sit down and fold your hands. You should raise a change request and it should be approved. Now, so whenever you raise a change request and it's approved, it comes back into this direct and manage work so that we can use it in planning and in actually working. Now we also use the EEFs and the OPA. Now the EEFs are the factors that we do not have control over, and the OPAs are things on a project, informations on a project that we can bring in to know more about projects, your financial statements, your issues and defect management. These are things we can bring on the project. Now the next one we will look at is the tools and technique. Now the expert judgment finds its way in many of the subdivisions. So now expert judgments, we are trying to call in consultants, stakeholders. What do you think about this? We are trying to the project team is actually carrying on the work. Are they doing it in the right way? You're using expert judgment to direct and manage the work. Now you can also bring in PMIS. Now PMIS has to just do is an information system now which can be a software that you're using to manage your work, your projects. Now some systems are available that you can use. You can use the Microsoft project, you can use the Primavera. Now so you should after this course you should also learn either project management, Microsoft project Microsoft project or Primavera. Those are nice PMIS that you need. Then also you can also have meetings with people, sit down. This project is supposed to take 6 days, but from the look of things, what's your project team doing? you're actually having a meeting. Now, in the meeting, you're actually going to exchanging information, brainstorming, and making decisions. What then is the output of this particular subdivision? Now, we are going to have deliverables. When you're actually doing a work, you should expect results. These results are what we call deliverables. A deliverable is any unique and verifiable product, result, or capacity to perform a service that's required to be produced. So now we'll also get work performance data now. Work performance data has to do with, let's call it raw data that you get from a project. You see, like 50% of the work has been done. We have spent 40% of our resources. These are all data. You can also say we are behind schedule by 20%. These are work performance data. Then also, as you're working, you would also have change requests. Now someone leaves your team, you would want to raise a change request. Then also we'll update our project management plan, because whenever a change occurs on project, it can impact on our cost, quality, HR. So you update these documents. And also you can also update some project documents like environment documentation, project log, risk register, and the rest. Now we go to the next subdivision, which is the monitor and control project work. This one, in monitor and control, now you're trying to track and review to ensure that the work that's going on is what is in line with what was agreed in the during the planning stage. Now, assuming our client meets the project manager and says, "Okay, I need a duplex," and the project team members starts building a bungalow. Wow, there's a big problem. So now, as the PM, you should try and track, review that, hey, our client wants a duplex. Are these guys trying to build a bungalow or what? So these are things you should check on the project. So what are the inputs? We'll bring in the project management plan. The project management plan, remember the project management plan tries to say how are we executing the project. Now, because in this project management plan, it has subsidiary documents like the scope management plan, the requirement management plan, the schedule management plan, the cost management plan, quality management plan, and the rest. So you bring it on board. Then also you bring schedule forecast. Schedule forecast has to do with, you can estimate when is this project going to finish. Now we have completed 40% of the project and we are in the 6th month. Maybe within 14 months we should be able to be done with the project. That's a forecast. You're actually forecasting the schedule. Now you can also forecast cost. Now you can say I've done 50% of the project and have spent $1 million. So everything going well, I can finish the project with $2 million. That's the cost forecast. As we go on, we'll actually discuss estimated time to complete, etc, schedule variance, schedule performance index, estimated time to complete. I've said that. Cost variance, cost performance index, estimated time at completion. Now, this would be discussed in one of the knowledge areas. I'll go in depth and show you how to calculate each of them, and I'll solve examples. So now that was gone. Also, I will also be able to validate change. Now, whenever a change request is raised, it should be validated. Is that change necessary? You should raise a change control board, what we call a CCB. They look at you making a change. You want to shift the project by 2 weeks, the end date. They look at it. Is it worth it? Must you do that? They can reject it or they can approve it. Then also you should have work performance information. Now, work performance data is different from work performance information, is in the sense that information is when you have actually worked on data. Now, remember, we can say that we have done 50% of the project and we are in the 6 months. That is a raw data. That's what you can see from project. When you can now come and make an estimate, you're now working an estimate with the data that was given to you. Now, and such estimate is what we call the work performance information. Now we'll see, like we'll talk about the end value management. The values from the end value management are good examples of work performance information. Then also we'll talk about the EEFs, enterprise environmental factors, the things on a project you do not have control over. Then the OPAs. The OPAs are just your data banks, things on a project, the informations that you need on a project, like defect management, change control procedure, risk control procedures, lesson learned database, and the rest. Now, what then are their tools and techniques? Now, the tools and techniques, expert judgments. We call in experts. They come and track the work. Is it going to according to what was planned? Now, the PM might not actually know what is actually going, so you bring in consultants to actually check in. So now also you can do analytical technique. You can, in under analytical technique, we have various analysis methods. We have regression, grouping, causal analysis, root cause analysis. Now, let me just highlight a little bit on the root cause analysis. The root cause analysis just tries to find out the actual problem or the actual cause of a problem. So, and root cause analysis, all these are various causes on their own. You can, after the process management, you might wish to go deeper into any of these areas. So they help you in find tracking your project. But within the course of this training, we would only discuss end value management because that's the one project management, the PM book guide expatiates on. Then also we have the PMIS, which is a software that you can use and manage a project. Then we also have meetings. What then is our output? Now, from our output, we should raise change requests. So now we see the work is not going according to what was planned. We can make change requests. We can shift the dates. We can request for more fund. We can even request that we reduce our projecting or we even get more projecting. So these are changes. So you make requests for change. Then also work performance report. Now, work performance reports are physical. These are physical electronic representation of informations. Now, when you now the work performance information is processed work performance data, and work performance report is a reporting format. That's when you have put your information in a reporting format. Now you can draw graphs, memos, information notes. These are examples of reports. Then also you can update our project management plan. Now we can talk about the scope, the requirements, the cost, the schedule, and the rest. So then let's also talk about the perform integrated change control. Remember, we are still under project integration management. Now we have dealt with develop project charter, develop project management plan. We have dealt with direct and managed work. We have done with monitor and control work. Now we are dealing with perform integration change control. Now, what is perform integration and change control? Now, this is the process of reviewing all change requests, and now you're trying to review the change request and trying to accept some and reject some. So when you actually want to review the change request, you always fall back on your baseline. Is this change actually required? So now this is where you perform change. This is where you perform your integrated change control, and you should actually set up a board for doing that. they call them the change control board, CCB. Well, okay, let me also make a clear difference between configuration control and change control. Now let me cite an example. A client tells us to build a house, and it should be yellow. Yellow, remember yellow. Now, someone leaves a project. One of the builders or contractors leave the project. So now that's going to impact our schedule for about 2 weeks. So we can raise a change request to shift our schedule or our end date. Now that is a change control. Now, but if a client comes up and say, "Hey, I don't want a yellow house, I want a green house," that is configuration control. Configuration control focuses on the specification. That's like the house. It's no more yellow. It should be red. It should be green. That's it deals on the specifications. It can remember your project might not necessarily be delivering a product, it might be delivering a service, but all we know that we want a result at the end of the project. But change control has to do with processes in your project, but configuration has to do with the final product, the specification of the final product. Then what are the inputs for this process? Now we bring in the project management plan, which we have discussed earlier. We also bring in the work performance reports. Now, the work performance reports, like I said, are work performance informations in a defined reported format. It can be graphs, histogram, bar charts, and the rest. Then also we should bring in change requests. Remember, we are performing integrated change control. Remember, this process is actually, you're trying to review the change request, so you must bring in change request. So we'll bring in the EEFs and the OPAs. Now, the reason why you should bring in the EEF is this: you do not want to make a change if you do not know whether there's a guideline or there's a factor that you do not have power over. Now, you want to make a change, and okay, let's assume you want to make a change now, and you maybe, like, I've been in a city that big trucks are not allowed to move in the daytime. They are allowed to move between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. So now, assuming you make a change, you want to raise a change request that cement should come in trucks in the early hours of maybe the next day. So you should know, if you go through your EF, you should know that that wouldn't be possible, since trucks are not allowed to move within the city in the daytime. So that's why you need to bring your EEF on board. Then OPAs, informations, is needed in every project. You can't do without informations. You need to know lessons learned and how to make change requests. These are things you'll find in your OPA. Then we talk about the tools and techniques. We bring in the expert judgments. We call in the consultants. You can call in the contractor himself. Say you want to make the house from yellow to green. He tells you that if you paint it green, that the house will burn down. That's his idea. He knows what he's telling you. So that's what you need to bring in the expert judgment before you make a change. You need to call these guys in. Then also you make meetings, and most likely your meeting will be with the CCB, change control board. Then also you can have a change control tool. Now, the tools are used to manage change requests. Now, if you can, I do not have a sample change request log here, but I would make it available. I'll make it available to you guys. So a change request log helps you to know You can write change request on, it's like in an Excel document. You can write change request. You can then in another column you actually write the status of the request, whether it's opened, whether it's reviewed, whether it's rejected, or whether it's approved. Then what is the output of this perform integrated change control? We have approved change request. The CCB, the change control bot, sits down and say, is this change necessary? If yes, we approve it. Then also we should have a change log. What are the things, all the changes that are raised, all the change requests are documented, and we should know the status of the changes. Then we also have the project management update. Any plan can be updated. We can update the cost baseline, the schedule baseline, the quality baseline, and the rest. Then the next and the final division under the project integration management is the closed project or phase. Now, this falls under, I told you that each of these are, the knowledge area is actually interwoven with the project management process. So please refer to page 61 of your PM book. Now, this division, this particular closed project falls under the closed project management process. I hope you're not confused. Okay, now what are the inputs? Okay, before I go further, what then do we do in closing a project? Now, in closing a project, you come back to your client, say you wanted a duplex at Cielo. You come back and meet him. We have finished our work. Please verify that this is what you need. And if he accepts, you can close the project. Then also you return all the tools that was actually assigned for the project back to the designated office. So now, what are the inputs? We will need the project management plan. We need the accepted deliverables. No, we need to know which particular deliverable has been accepted. As we can break a project into various deliverables, we can say, when we are building a duplex, we can say the pillars as a deliverable, the lintel stage as a deliverable, the decking stage as a deliverable. We can break this down. So now, if the pillar has been accepted, we can say, yeah, that's an accepted deliverable. Then also we talk about the OPAs, organizational process assets. So these are just your information bank. What are the audits of the project? What are the project evaluation? Was it a success? Was it a failure? What was that financial statement like? These are in your OPAs. Then also talk about the tools and technique. The tools and technique happens to be the expert judgment, then analytical technique, which I talked about. There are so many techniques like regression analysis, root cause analysis, EVM, variance analysis. So we'll be looking into EVM within the knowledge areas in subsequent video. Then we look at the outputs. Our output, we should be able to get our final product. Every project is meant to achieve a goal. We are trying to achieve a result. So this should be part of our output. Then also we should be able to have updates our OPA. Now we should before now in the inputs you have been seeing OPA, but now the project is actually done. We can come and input what made this project successful, what made it failed. Now we can update our OPAs, and we can see that the project is now over. So actually, I have, after every training, I have sample questions, but let's just actually do a few. I'll explain. I think after every video I have about 20 questions, but I won't really go into the 20 questions. So now let's just look at the first 5 questions or so. When integration is used under project management, it includes all of the following except. Now remember, in project integration management, what are we actually doing? We are unifying, we are combining various processes. Are you getting it? Then also you're consolidating. You're building upon the various processes. Now that's what you actually do. And communication is something as a project manager you have to do now. One thing about the PMP exam, they might put all correct answers, but you should choose the you by elimination method. You can cancel out some. Now, okay, I chose D. My answer, I chose D because review is not, yeah, you can say it's under integration, but ABC holds more weight than D. Okay, let's look at question 4. One of the initial project documents used by senior management, which outlines the authority of a project manager, is called project charter. As a seller, what other documents can be used on this place? Now, remember when we discussed agreements, I said agreements can be in the form of SLA, MOU, and contracts. So looking at it, contract is the correct answer. So thank you again for watching this tutorial, and please don't forget to like the video and watch the subsequent video. You would pass your PMP exam in one sitting. Thank you. This is the Tutorials. Have a nice day.